struggle to get with the fact that she seems to believe what she's saying, bro. That's what it is. I think people, and maybe I'm just too honest, but how deep and dark must you be to say some of the shit that she says and believe it, or do it for even a check? You get me? She can't sleep. That's probably why she looks like an old woman, and she dresses like an old woman as well. Can we get some better clothes?
But she's not going to get better clothes because her job is to appear as frumpy as possible because it's disarming the old conservative white people.
Yeah.
And they don't consider her to be a threat. Everything she does is measured, so it borderlines on psychopathic. That she presents in a way that is how white people want their black people to look. Dowdy, frumpy, non-threatening, nigh on sexually ambiguous. Like, we know she's a woman, but you couldn't necessarily tell by looking, because she'll make a point of principle to present herself in a way that's not flattering, because the idea is that to appear, even the aesthetic has to appear to be down,
There in people is the details. So anyone trying to clip this up and make it sound like Dane's calling her a man.
Hemi's a unisex name. So
is it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Is it?
I don't know. I don't think it is.
It's not. Well, it is now because
Dane said so.
Because Kemi looks so. So that's how I feel. But no, but on that basis, you know that if there was if you want to hear the hardest, most apathetic, worst line someone could say, for example, about a transgender person, go to Kemi, because that's the thing, is that it's just an ideological arms race that as long as whatever she says that will engage the most conservative, most acerbic, worst of the worst, she will say it because that's her job. It's not only her.
I just don't know. It's the motive that bothers me.
The motive is that there is a new space now for people, ethnic conservatives, that Labour is still lagging behind because they're stupid, and that's the left for you. But essentially, there's a lot of black and brown people who have seen the success of Rishi Sunak, and they've seen the success of people like, what's my man who ran for Mayor of London as well?
Oh.
No, black guy.
The black,
who was also having the parties.
He disappeared quick time though.
He's not been around for a while, has he?
Yeah, you know what? I can't remember his name, and you know what?
I'm sure that we've forgotten who he is.
Yeah,
I can see his face.
He was supposed to, he was Labour. He was supposed to be Labour's leader. Did he actually make it, or was it a matter of days? Or
no, he didn't make it, but he was trying to be a mayor of London. But,
and then I'm sure he ended up being in cahoots with the Liberal Democrats at some point.
I know who you're talking about, but it's not him. That's Trevor Phillips. So Trevor Phillips was the Minister for Racial Equality, who initially suggested that we have black boys be taught separately in schools and stuff like that as well. Then he was Liberal Dem, then he was UKIP, then he was the minister, then I can't remember, but he's on a TV show now. But again, he's the one, and very, very recently, him and Kemi Badenoch had like a coon-off on TV, innit?
Fucking hell, how embarrassing.
Listen, what they have done in the same with Tom Sewell and all these people, they have seen a space whereby they understand there is no problem with me compromising beliefs. They did not believe in any form of unified community progression. If they can pattern for themselves in these spaces, they'll take it. And, we see their equivalents in various different other spaces. It's not just happening in politics. You will get people of colour in entertainment where they're like, I am happy to gatekeep. How many times have you been to a nightclub and the bouncer say, no black people, and it's a black person telling you this?
Well, he's not overtly telling you no black people, but yeah,
he's like, this is a R&B club is down the road, sir. You probably enjoy it down there. You got to bring 2 girls, a unicorn, and a thimble, and a slice of fruit ginger. Otherwise, you can't get into this club. That's the policy, I'm afraid. So, you have to bring an ice cube. It's like an ice cube. It's the middle of July. Well, I don't make the rules, bro. What can I do in it? But Kemi Badenoch and that whole glut of people like Lammy and stuff like that as well, they clearly can see the way politics is going in this country, and they are trying to justify their position in these spaces because they've gotten very used to being able to suck at the same taxpayer teat and get their bread, and they are prepared to say anything in order to maintain their power, because they've seen the money they get from expenses. They've seen the second homes. They've seen how much earning potential there exists. They've seen the power that comes.
So what you're saying is that
Sean Bailey.
Sean Bailey
Was the one who vied for Mayor of London. And he was like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the money back from Oyster cards and make all of us money. And since then, don't talk again. Not said a word since. No, hasn't held anyone to task. But all of these guys understand that if they are thrown the smallest bone of power and given their own fiefdom, they will do and say whatever they want to maintain that. Kemi Badenoch is just somebody who will continue to push and push and push, but also because she has no political experience and she's not charming, she's not charismatic, but what she is the prepared to do or say a madness to appease the people
Margaret
that
Thatcher
bankroll her.
would be rolling in her grave.
Listen, not necessarily, because Kemi Badenoch would definitely say, why should you roll in your grave, Margaret? I'll find some black people and put them in there for myself.
True.
You know, we have to understand, yeah, that like, as much as we could talk about our business, like race is a construct and doesn't mean that everybody that looks like us holds the same views.
Yeah.
And a lot of time where progressive movements for us have fallen short is because the powers that be are able to find one of us and tempt us with the opportunity for power at the expense of the rest of us. So even when we talk about like, you know, how things affect us in, like we're talking about opioid crisis and stuff like that as well, you just got to find one person that's prepared to let that stuff come in and how much money they're going to make.
That's it.
And, you know, it's an oft-used tactic of divide and conquer. And Kemi Badenoch is just the latest incarnation of that. So... But if you're someone who knows who she is, and the thing is, she has a lot of support from a lot of Nigerians because a lot of people just look at the aspect of the representation and the fact that there is a Nigerian woman that is leading the Conservative Party, even though all of her politics. But then there's the same way. There's a lot of Nigerians. 7% of the Reform Party's voters were black, and they reckon that 100% of those voters were also Nigerian.
But then this is the thing. I mean, I don't know the stats, and maybe you can educate me on this. But I would hazard a guess that those are like older Nigerians, because any younger person listening to her tribe would know what it is from the beginning.
They might hear the tribe, but we're talking about what they hear. But what they see is someone who's been afforded a position of power who is going to be earning a minimum of 80 bags a year. And in our community, whether or not we want to acknowledge or not, we are conservative in many ways. So it's not very hard for people to identify with some of the ideology. And a lot of people are definitely about a bag. And if they see, however we might talk about Kemi Badenoch and her stupid glasses and her stupid braids and her stupid suits and her stupid blouses and her stupid face and her stupid glasses, and I said them twice, but she's got more than one pair and they're both stupid. So basically, people will see that and say, well, she's getting her bag though. And that's enough for a lot of people. That they reckon that what she's earning. And also on the basis that now she, as a leader of the Conservative Party, she's predisposing herself to be in the House of Lords. She's going to be able to sit on the board of directors for any kind of investment firm or banking. She can go and give speeches.
I hear all that, blood.
There's going to be a book that's going to come out, and it's going to be a stupid, boring book that none of us are going to like.
I hear all that, but you see what it is.
Pictures of her as a child. You're going to be like, rah.
I refuse to believe that the younger generation would hear her speak and see that as a something to aspire to.
Oh no, not what it's based on what she says.
You get what I mean? But that's what I'm saying.
What she's earning.
What she's earning. And put all that aside, I think the younger generation are definitely more educated than that. I feel like they'll see that and think, yeah, like I did. Yeah. Go on, let me see what you got to say, and then hear it and think, dickhead. Yeah. Another David Lammy, move that to the side and keep it moving. I don't think that she would be afforded that kind of reverence. To be fair,
I think it'd be a small minority. I say it's a small minority, but I think that. But there's a lot of people, as I said, that sometimes it's not necessarily a voluntary response. There's a lot of people that, when black people find themselves in spaces when they're following the same trajectory as someone like Kemi Badenoch, sometimes to just even navigate those spaces, people begin to absorb those values. And a lot of the people like Kemi Badenoch, these are, like I said, a lot of her friends came to the UK. They go to boarding school. They go to Oxbridge. They rub shoulders with members of the Buddington Club at Oxford. And all of these people are massively racist. And you might be somebody who might not have it, and you might thump a man in the face. But these guys, they are thinking about the position of power that might they predisposed to when they leave university, the connections that they're making. So they turn a blind eye when they hear.
You know what? No, but you know what? And I will say to that, yeah, at some stage or some spaces and places, you might need to box clever. You get me? Like you might need to turn a blind eye to certain one and two things. How severe those one or two things are kind of varies from person to person. I definitely know that there might be certain spaces for me personally where I'd be like, you know what, I know I can see where this is gonna go, but it's definitely something that it'd have to be big enough for me to be able to turn around and help the community. I could not be on some coonery and so skullduggery to the point where man's just going far out and just doing any kind of anything.
Like, I hear what you're saying, but listen,
like,
but even
considering the historical context, like considering the color of your skin, like, and she's not the lightest woman in the world. Like, to me, I just don't get how she can look herself in the mirror every day and be a believer in what she's saying. So, to your point, I think there's a lot more.
But look at her psychological. But then, if that's the case, and I do agree with you completely, look at her psychological profile. Does it not stand to reason that if somebody has internalized all of these regressive, racist, self-hating, pro-colonial, pro-fascist views, they're gonna look like somebody who she don't look like she smiles. She don't look like she loves anything. You think that her husband got lucky on Valentine's Day? Because she put on some red shoes to go with the pantsuit and stripping glasses.
Kids, I mean, actually, let me not say. I'm not going to say anything about people's kids.
But at the end of the day, all of these, same as James Cleverly his mum's from Sierra Leone, and he will also speak negatively about Africans and make this comment because they're not talking to us. They understand, and that's the important. They understand that the political class forms about less than, if not 2% of the UK's entire population. That's who they're speaking to.
Yeah,
because they're like, I'm one of you, man, staying here, innit? It's the same way you will hear some of these rappers when they reach a certain socio-economic or certain tax bracket. It's like, racism ain't that bad.
Yeah. I mean, all that to say, I think as a community and as a culture, I mean, even between ourselves, it's kind of like it's a ping pong game. Who to support, where to put your vote. There's, I mean, ideologically, I would like to see, or ideally, I would like to see a party that, and this is like far out, but having a third party that kind of leans in more into the interests of our community, and I think something that actually is somewhat founded by our community would be very useful. But I mean, how likely that is questionable. I say that to say this though. I feel like, and this is definitely a lot more achievable, banding together as like leaders within the community, like really banding together, not just like talk, whether it be people that run businesses, people, leaders within the community, banding together and creating a space in which it's almost like a voting block. You get what I mean? And if you don't know what a voting block is,
that's the main things of voting block,
that is something people should look into. You get, I'm showing you. And for the leaders within our culture, like, these are the sort of things, like, let's not get rich and switch, as the old saying goes. Let's not just get money and then float off in an island or move to Hertfordshire or Essex, as some of us do, and forget where we're coming from, because that sort of behavior doesn't get you far. Like, you can be rich and, you know what I mean, like it doesn't really matter when at the end of the day your people are still having to go through the same fuckery that you just got yourself out of. So,
which I agree with. I can assure you 100% that she does not care or even think like that.
Yeah, forget her.
And take a good look at her, guys, because that's what hating yourself will end up looking like.
Picture on the left. But moving on quickly. So Trevor Noah was on a TV show, and one of the biggest quotes that came out of it, him questioning whether integration was the right thing for Black Americans after the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Now I've got a controversial take on this, and it's probably not controversial actually. So let me just say, I don't know if integration in the times and space in which we are in as Black people globally, I don't know if integration is good for us right now. I feel like we need to practice a degree of socialism within ourselves to build some economic wealth collectively. And I keep saying this, and I'm gonna keep saying it.
Well, this is the point, and I think that
before you go on, let me finish this thought. Build our economic wealth collectively, and then once we know how to play the game, start playing the game properly. But we need to fix like what's going on within us. So integration is not really helping, because again, like I've said before on past podcasts, integration means we're placating to the left, who historically keep us in a space of complacency and not wanting to actually over excel or overachieve and do better things for our community and our culture. So in that regard, I think Trevor Noah's onto something. And he's trying to say it quite politely, but I don't know. Maybe it was a gaff. He weren't meant to say it like that. I don't know, bro. Because Trevor Noah doesn't strike me as somebody who's trying to be like particularly distracting, or you know what I
No,
mean, like try to.
Listen, I feel like Trevor Noah is a great comic. First of all, Trevor Noah's life experience involves growing up in apartheid South Africa. I had the pleasure of meeting him and a lot of great comedians that have come out of the South Africa's comedy scene. And because of we are a similar generation, one thing that a lot of Black South Africans have in common is that for those who are of the same generation, whether they're like elder millennials, is that they got to witness the dismantling of apartheid live. So they've grown up in a time where they've experienced apartheid and seen apartheid come to an end.
For those, because there's a lot of people that don't know.
So apartheid is basically was a institutional and structural racist system that was set up in South Africa, which restricted the movement of Black people outside of certain areas called townships, and also denied them a lot of civil liberties and opportunities, whether it's access to education, resources, healthcare, economic opportunities, which led to the formation of the ANC, which was a resistance group led by Steve Biko as well as Nelson Mandela.
I'm glad you mentioned the name Steve Biko, because a lot of people don't know about Steve Biko, but he was the original bad man behind the ANC. And, you know, for all the lights and the shining lights around Nelson Mandela's name, you cannot really say ANC and talk to the particular success that the ANC had without, you know, I would say he was probably the spearhead of that movement.
Or shout out Winnie as well, really and truly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah. Winnie Mandela, massive, you get me. But I think the reason why I say that, and this is just a side note with this conversation, is that I feel like Steve Biko goes underlooked.
Yeah, massively. Absolutely.
Just in the same way that Thomas Sankara gets underlooked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We all know.
Or Medgar Evans gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Marcus Garvey gets overlooked.
Well, maybe because being from a Rastafarian household, I know more about. But you're right though, because actually,
but the UNIA is something a lot of people don't really know about, and that precursor to civil rights.
Yeah,
how important that was.
Massively important.
I don't think people understand the way that Black people used to be described before the UNIA even came with the designation of saying Negro or Black, how people used to be referred to or even referred to themselves.
And since we're speaking about names, Leonard Howell as well. Somebody's, you know, he is the first Rasta man, the first ever Rasta. He was a Christian, by the way.
Well, yeah, but that's not mad, because Abyssinia was the first Christian nation, which is modern day Ethiopia anyway. Yeah. So that's not.
Yeah. No, but this is the thing. Leonard Howell, quick story. Leonard Howell and Marcus Garvey were good friends. Both from Jamaica, born in Jamaica, moved to America, started the UNI together. Leonard Howell moved back to Jamaica and established a place called Pinnacle, which was where he went to live because he was done with the fuckery. Yeah. And he just lived off the land, and that's where that whole Rastafarian lifestyle came from. Meanwhile, Marcus Garvey predicted the rise of a king from the east, which was Haile Selassie. Therefore, the two was connected. And those Rastafarians that joined Leonard Howell in Pinnacle in Jamaica decided they were done with the fuckery and weren't going to use no comb, and they were going to live off the land and do, you know, just mind, body and soul and look after themselves in that way. And that's where the Rastafarian lifestyle. So I always say Rastafarianism is because I'd say I'm a Rasta man now, but because it's not a religion, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
You get me? Like, so just clear up that, but that's a quick side note.
Yeah,
but Leonard Howell,
that requires clarification. So
instrumental.
When you're gonna bring me to meet the Rastaman, them I don't know. But I have to change my life and clear myself and mind. But I'm ready. But no, but yeah, I think that Trevor Noah makes a good point, and I feel like he has had the time to both grow up. He has seen the racial fabric of two nations at their most clear. Like growing up in South Africa and then living in America and doing the Daily Show, he is somebody I would say has had enough points of reference to talk about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
All I'd say is, because I have had this conversation with another person from Brom before on a podcast.
Okay, true.
Jamelia.
Right.
We also questioned if if integration has necessarily been a progressive movement undertaken by the diaspora. So my response to that is, the short answer is no. And I explain, and that's because essentially, because I guess it's kind of simplified when you explain it, but it's because the phenomenon that we've observed post-civil rights, however you want to call it, is not integration, it's assimilation. Because integration would imply that you are able to coexist while your culture still thrives alongside dominant culture. The example I will use is, doesn't matter where you go, any metropolitan city in the UK, there'll be a Chinatown.
Right.
And that means that there are Chinese people who are able to have their businesses where they speak their own language, they will advertise in their own language, they will essentially be able to have a space and an area designated for their own economic prosperity, and their businesses will flourish. And there is no pressure, politically or otherwise, for them to display anything that gives an indication that they are existing within dominant culture. They don't have to put signs in English. They could obviously cater to English people, but they can have their businesses. They can advertise for employees and stuff like that, and they don't have to do that. Whereas, as black people don't have the same thing. In the same way that in America, you will have areas, or like someone like Birmingham, you will have areas of Birmingham where you know that there is a sizable Sikh population, and the people that live there live relatively affluently. Like in the UK, you have Gants Hill. Gants Hill has a large Gujarati community there. People live very well. Southall has a large Southeast Asian community, and people were prosperous. Whereas with ourselves, our exchange of being treated like human beings is that people in the UK can't think of areas where there are middle-class black people living and enjoying economic prosperity, because we've not been able to integrate and hold on to, you know, whether it might be businesses or housing or any other economic institution that is mutually beneficial for our community. We have to assimilate, whereby it is seen as black prosperity if you don't live in an area where there's a lot of black people.
Or esteem like black prosperity when you don't act like, quote unquote,
precisely
like a black person.
And that's what I mean by assimilation, is that you have to change aspects of yourself and change it or dilute it in order for you to enjoy a certain level of success.
So what you're saying, Dane, is that we need to find a way to still be us, but hold on to and grow some wealth.
Not only that, it should be encouraged by people outside of our community, right? Because a broken people cannot contribute effectively to a society. So, for example, when people talk about black on black crime. Well, if it's a crime, if we are going to distinguish criminality within the black community from all other criminality, then why don't we have our own law enforcement? And people that look like us enforce law in our neighborhoods. And people that look like us are involved in our rehabilitation. Or people that look like us are involved in our reintegration into society.
You know why this is what you're saying is a far cry, and this is not to take away from what you're saying, but it's because this is not what they want.
So don't worry, I knew you was gonna get there.
You get what I mean? This is not what they want.
So that's why when we talk about integration, it's simplified to say, why don't we integrate? It's because you have to, like, you can use the example of the Tulsa massacre, whereby Black Wall Street existed post-slavery. Black people set up their own towns and had their own thriving businesses, and white people destroyed it. And it happened in Rosewood as well. It happened in Washington. It happened in Baltimore. Like, there are innumerable examples.
It happened in Northwest London,
right?
You know what I mean? When we trying to exist and develop businesses, and people
when black people was keeping themselves to themselves, their houses would be firebombed.
Right.
So it's well and easy to say we shouldn't integrate, but even at times when we've insulated ourselves to focus on building our own wealth and to educate ourselves, the jealousy and homicidal jealousy that has come from our former oppressors have destroyed these frameworks. And it happens a lot of the time. In the same way that we have discussions about politics and stuff, but the truth is, like you said, what we should have had is a voting caucus or a voting bloc that represented our own interests, that had no connection to the bipartisan political spectrum. And that's what we had with some of our leaders, whether it's the darkest house.
Can we simplify that for the people? Then,
basically, we didn't need to be Tories or Labour. We should have been a political party for ourselves. And there were people that were around that were trying to make that, we don't care about what Conservatives doing, what they were doing. What are we doing for us? And those people got murdered. Right. So now we are left being forced to assimilate, where it's like, What does Labour do for us? What do the Tories do for us? And the answer is none of these people do shit, because more than anything else, and before any political party, they will prioritize the needs of their community over anything else.
So we need collective organization between us.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to put it out there.
But exactly. You know what I mean? We should make it as simple as possible. Yeah.
Where we're trying to go.
There's nothing wrong with. People think that integration is segregation, and that's not the case. We are not saying not interact with people of other groups and ethnic groups or races, as it's called. We're not saying that, but it's the fact that Black History Month is a month that then we're like, well, why don't you teach Black History Month? We shouldn't even need to question or need to ask academic institutions outside of our culture to educate our children. We're fucked if we need to ask the people that responsible for saying stuff like, you don't. For example, going back to the conversation we had, melanin is more valuable than gold. If you're a black person, you don't research that, you won't learn that, because they'll never tell you that, because they know that will give you the idea that you know you're a valuable human being. But what they'll do instead is they will suggest image after image of black trauma porn and slavery movies and history, and you get 1 month out of the year where we talk about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and essentially only focus on our history after interacting with Europeans, as if we did not have an expansive full history before that. So, for example, I used to go Saturday school because my parents understood that leaving my education up to white people in a school was insanity, because they understand that these people do not the aspect of teaching which involves valuing the community and sharing those values and having some sense of just true care for a community. People don't have that. So I went to a Saturday school where I can brush up on maths and English, but all the imagery around me, the people that are teaching me, the people that may show patience if I show any learning difficulty, look like me and have some concern for my welfare, rather than being like, I'm sure people can listen to me and it's not like I struggle with learning words and shit, but I got expelled from almost every school I went to. I was almost expelled from primary school like 4 times. I never hit nobody in my life.
Yeah, let's let that.
You get me?
Yeah.
But by me having to integrate into a Eurocentric academic institution, they didn't want to hear what I had to say about myself.
That is a whole different rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Let's
try
that.
So I think,
but I hear what you're saying,
and I hear what Trevor's saying is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I hear it loud, bro. I hear it loud because I've often wondered it. It's just the first time I've ever heard. I mean, I don't know whether he'd classify himself as black or what they.
Well, I guess in South Africa they would say he was coloured.
Coloured,
yeah.
Coloured, which is, you know, apart from South Africa, not a bad word. Yeah. You know what I mean? So anyway, I mean, talking about integration, Europeans seem to be having a hard time integrating within the wider white society, with the idea of the European having its own reserve currency floated in certain spaces. And I heard the conversation on LBC. Not something I want to go massively into, unless you have some sort of an opinion.
Not really, but just like, you know, it's an interesting thing to see what's happening today, where when we're getting these distraction pieces from the Trump administration, the whitest of the whites don't seem to be getting on either, do they?
And this is the thing, and that is as a result of
the people of the
Caucasus
Mountains in Russia, where the Caucasus Mountains are located. The most Caucasus of the Caucasians are beefing with the Americans, who are beefing with the Europeans. So white on white war is warring right now.
So that is as a result of the Vice President, Donald Trump's Vice President, going to Germany and lambasting the government while siding and actually going and visiting the right-wing political factions of the country, which is quite an interesting thing. I mean, got nothing to do with us. I only say that to say that this new currency, potentially, I say quote unquote, because, you know, when people come with ideas and say things, I reckon 5-10 years time you're gonna start, because you've already got BRICS. For those people who don't know, BRICS is a currency that is building actually between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and what's the other one? South Africa.
South Africa's recently
South Africa, yeah. And more countries are joining BRICS as a way to
They've been talking about that for time, you know. I read that in the New Statesman, I think, over 10 years ago about BRICS still.
And this is what I'm saying. So if you're hearing people start to talk about an independent European currency, then I reckon at some point we're gonna start seeing all these currencies, especially money's not real, we know that, and money being digital in the case of crypto, you can really make. Yeah, America print their money all the time, and they run the world with it. So I don't want to spend.
Now that's being threatened is why we're seeing the wars, because once you start messing with the money, as we always tell our community, if you want to do these people damage, you start messing with their wallets.
Well, you know what? This is the thing.
Switch.
The money is a means of control. The real currency is people
and resources.
The ability and resources, and the ability to control people is it's a big thing. It's like that is the real currency alongside the resources. So for me and for us, it's just a game that we need to keep our eye on and watch and play, because I think geographically we need to start shifting sometime soon. But we'll get into all of that.
Yeah. You
get me? Car, I don't want anyone coming and knocking my door looking about a passport and all that thing there. So yeah.
But also a game, This is what I mean. I think there's a lot of these systems that, we have integrated into, and we believe that they are the best system because we don't know any better, when really a lot of this shit is castles built on sand. And
bro, I say it all the time, you cannot build a house on bad foundations, and America is the biggest house built on the baddest foundations.
It's literally built on an ancient Indian burial ground.
Imagine.
So,
and those Indians are descendants of who?
Well, there you go.
Let's go. Interesting subjects. And we were talking about geopolitical stuff. Senegal started to refine its own oil. We've not got much time left. So what say you on that subject?
I suppose ecologically, I think we need to move on to more sustainable energy things, blah, blah, blah. But for the time being, I think it's a very progressive move, and I'm very happy to see how this turns out for Senegal. It's always bothered me that Nigeria is supposed to be maybe the 6th or 7th largest oil reserve in the world, and yet a lot of people that visit there tell me that there's power cuts are frequent. And I think if you are one of the 6th or largest oil reserves in the world, then that should not be the case. I think that when a lot of our community go to places like Dubai and Qatar, but particularly like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and see all of this opulence that has been afforded by their oil and riches, and I would love to see a utopia whereby the same richness of infrastructure and opulence in Africa.
Which I need to stop you there. Which talks Kemi to the destabilization of the Western countries of, places like Nigeria, in which you are from, and you're like bro.
The fact that you've only discovered Kemi Badenoch now is so funny, bro. If you think she's bad now, trust me.
Bro,
some of the things that have come out of this woman's mouth.
I'm not even halfway through this interview, and it seems like a culmination of all things. And if I know, because I've watched Jordan Peterson quite a bit. If I know him, I know he'll delve in deep and get everything.
What he's going to get though is going to horrify you. I can assure you of that. She's terrible, but she's the opposite of what's happening in Senegal, which is great things. And I think once African countries are able to, any instances where they are taking ownership of their resources, particularly if they're going to be, and they can be nationalized and for the benefit of the people, the Senegalese in this case, I'm all for it. I would happily go to Senegal, holiday, see how they're living it up. And once you're able to control your own resources, who knows how far that can spread? Because imagine a world where the Congo controls all their cobalt and coltan.
Listen, that's yeah. Anyway. Moving on, all things, speaking to things Nigerian. So there's and this is a completely whole different kind of thing, but Nigerian comedian called Trinity Guy. This is Nigerian women at large on social media, and then he's dancing up with his white girlfriend. And white girlfriend, that's his business. That's not the point. But as we discussed earlier, why disrespect Nigerian women in place of a white woman, like, just doesn't make any sense. Now, there's only a few things. I just want to gloss over this, really. One, when I seen the story, I was a bit hyped and I just thought, blood, you need a punch in the face. But then I read the comments and I was so proud to see how many black women were just like, brother, ease up. We don't
go,
like,
go for it, buddy.
So unbothered.
So long.
You know what I mean? And what was nice to see in that was how we are not tempted into foolishness by these dickheads.
Yeah,
You get what I mean? So it was just nice to see, and I just wanted to make a point of that, because as much as we like, or we are seen sometimes as people that are emotional and just react and just do shit, in this case we didn't. For the most part, most of the comments were just kind of like, this idiot.
Like, no one asked you, bro.
You get what I'm showing you?
We don't care.
And you know what? If you're gonna do that, Trinity guy, if you're going to diss Nigerian women for a white woman, make sure your white woman is banging, bro. Because that woman had chapped lips and all kind of madness, you get me? And she could have been black, white, whatever. But in this case, bro, you're dissing Nigerian women and she's clapped, Rude boy. You get what I'm showing you? She was not as bad as Rude boy. You get me? Like, that was dead out. So what you was trying to do there, you failed.
It's back. It's blackfired, if you will.
Oh, madness.
I just think, yeah, just protect our energy, and we will not indulge the rage farmers in 2025 and moving forward. We're going to remove our energy from the internet where people are obsessed with us and trying to divide and conquer. And let's focus on uplifting ourselves, man. Now, shout out to all the Nigerian women. We all know that, boy, some of your melanin is the most valuable on earth. Let's be real. And people are paying big money to look like you lot. We know this. BBLs to lip fillers.
Well, speaking of, I mean, another quick story, but saw on social media, girl goes out on a date for Valentine's Day, kissing her date at the end of the night, and her lips falling off. Comes to basically what she done was she put on like some sort of a aesthetic lip, like it's like a plastic lip that you can stick on.
Oh yeah, it's like a gum with like yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's so strange. Because obviously people can get gel-filled pads for like bras and stuff, so she's put like something similar on the lips.
But I didn't know such a thing existed. Like, women, now, I mean, man them in the comments, yeah, because this is a whole big conversation I have with women and men, you get me? Like, I'm a naturalist, you get me? Like, man, I tell, you get, I'm showing you, I prefer, light makeup, cool, but I'm not, especially every day. And if you're going out and a woman, she wants to put on bare makeup just to look the part or whatever, but you see when we get in, take that off. I'm not into the makeup thing like that, you get me? I barely like weave and wigs, like them sort of things don't attract me. But I say all that to say this, a lot of women feel like that's what men are on. They like the whole makeup thing on. I'm coming back to this fake lip, because that's just not on for me at all.
It's a bridge too far, boy.
Man them in the comments, I just want you to put makeup, slight makeup, or no makeup. Like, what do you prefer? Because our sisters, the women within our culture, seem to think that we just like the made up glam gal, the Barbie doll looking gal with the weave light and the wigs and like the whole 9 yards. They think that's what we like for the most part. I have a lot of conversations with women and I'm like, I speak to my man them and they're not on that. Like, so is it just my man them or is it man them at large? So I'm just putting it out to everyone.
It's a weird thing where, like, I was saying this the other day, where it's like an older guy I was talking to was like, kids aren't children anymore, and why don't girls play with dolls and stuff anymore? And I believe that in many ways, younger women have stopped playing with dolls because they decided to become them. If that makes sense. Where how a doll will accentuate certain hyper feminine features is what women are going for now, and I think that being weaned on this diet of like Instagram and social media.
But who's leading the trend in this?
Well, who knows? Because is it the algorithm? Is it? But I think it's basically there's a level of assimilation of, I think, feminine and queer culture, whereby I think a lot of I guess men who would identify as genderqueer or even people that are transitioning gravitate towards a more hyper feminine appearance to maybe compensate for feeling like they're less like women.
Right, so how, I guess what I'm trying to...
And a lot of women have started to feel the pressure to feel like they've got to do this kind of thing as well to compete with the images that they're seeing in media that, because like you said, is like weaves and stuff like that as well. So I just think there's a lot of people people's heads are so twisted. It's like the way some women now will have BBLs and they'll have breast implants and they'll have lip fillers, or not lip fillers, graphidon on lips, sticking lips on, eyelashes, like... Some women putting like fake bums in their leggings, fake butt cheeks in the leggings, Lululemons, which are like Wonder bras for butt cheeks, as well as wearing Wonder bras. I feel like there's, this is just my opinion, but I just think that this is almost like the feminine equivalent of brothers that go broke to get rentals, to go to floss and to flex, and people going broke. I just think there's just people nowadays. We have just
makeup ain't cheap as well.
Makeup is massively expensive. It's massively expensive, and I just think that it's just a thing whereby people struggle so much with their self-image because of the images that you see on social media and the media and stuff, that it is like a weird arms race of who can present themselves in the best way that's going to capture the filter and capture the algorithm in the best. And we're just.
I can say this for sure. Listen,
it's mad.
I'm not going to say the woman's name, but if you ever watch this podcast, please know that the sticky lip thing is not the one. Man, them ain't going through it. I'll tell you that now, and I would be comfortable to speak for most men. Most men do not want to be litzing their gal and the lip falling off.
And the men that would be okay with it, you don't want them. You don't want them.
You get me? Hence the reason why my man pointed it out, like, yo, babe, your lip, there's something wrong with it. Anyway, moving on quickly. It's long. Yep. Stormzy's response to after the backlash. Now we haven't got much time left, so I just want to cover this. Probably does it injustice, but I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say that to say this. While he was kind of leaning into an apology, he didn't give one. He kind of his reasoning was basically, and I'm gonna paraphrase here, was kind of like, I still for the man them.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to explain everything that I do, kind of thing, which didn't satisfy, not me personally, because to be honest with you, do I care? Not really.
Energy it gives me, it's like, when you watch like films, like...
So you saw the response?
Yeah, with undercover cops, and he goes, man, are you a fucking rat? And he goes, am I a rat? This is me, baby! And then he's like, moving.
Yeah.
Moving immediately.
So yeah, I mean,
and I'm not saying Stormzy's a rat, but I'm just saying that it's like in both instances, we've not really asked you to volunteer your opinion. And I'm not saying he shouldn't speak, because I'm all for artists being able to use their platform, but you decided to go and say, I am 100% of the time backing the oppressed over the oppressor.
Yeah.
So you have and the awareness of the facts in terms of McDonald's support of IDF soldiers is public knowledge. So for you to do what you did on the basis of that knowledge, it does. The optics of it don't look great, Stormzy. And as I said before, a 6'6" brother who appeared in Men's Health promoting McDonald's in itself
is a massive contradiction.
It's a massive contradiction.
Massive contradiction.
So
yeah, like. The mind boggles.
Time will tell, Stormzy. Time will tell, I guess. Time will tell.
And that's it. Time does always tell.
Yeah.
I want to move on quickly to the other influencer that was on a dating program talking about not men that don't earn 10 grand a month. Basically,
do you know her name?
For a time. I don't want to mention her name, bro.
Okay. Well, on a rather popular dating show, the host.
Let's speed through this one, bro, because we need to get these details out.
Basically, the host was talking to a rapper,
and
basically had stipulated her terms for an eligible bachelor or eligible date or partner, where she said that a man that is dating her or who wants to date her, aspires to date her, cannot be earning any less than £10,000, I assume net, a month. And when people query
after tax, guys,
that's after tax, and if anyone queries that, anybody who would be querying that would be only doing so because they are broke. And the only people that would be complaining are also broke.
I think
she also was quoted in saying, I do not care for a man's potential. I've not got time for that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what I would say is, first and foremost, like, members of our culture, because this is a popular show with, like, that our culture actually engages within, don't follow the fuckery. Yeah, a man does not have to be earning 10 grand a month after tax, because trust me, there's many a good man out there that if you ignored them on that basis, you'd be very lonely, which begs to like wonder what kind of relationship she's in, because she's on a dating show, so I assume she's not with anybody. I mean, the way she got on that dating show anyway was a whole different subject. But then when you read the comments, people are like dressing her down, talking about 2 kids and all these kind of things. Now, I'm not here to say anything about her children, but I do question how she is qualified to make such statements, because somebody is so fresh as to say, I am not taking anybody on if they're not earning less than 10 grand a month. I'd assumed that you was going in with things, and she's not my jammer, so we'll leave that one there.
Well, I mean, my jammer wouldn't need to command that somebody earns 10 bags a month, but I mean, I think that I'm not going to.
I say that she's not my jammer, as in to say like
what she's earning to say that the person
not even so much earning. I just like her positioning. Put politely, I mean, your positioning isn't that of someone that could say to somebody, you need to be earning that type of money. It's got nothing to do with the money she's earning. I just don't think you're intelligent enough to be demanding that. Like, it's just stupid.
Well, I'm not going to critique you in that respect because I believe in potential. Lucky for you, madam. If someone's got potential, I'm not going to denigrate them just because they only have potential, because everything begins with potential. But I just think I must worry about the fact that I think that people that have these platforms that encourage these very unrealistic ideas about eligible partners in a time where we are like, I don't know why, and this is this whole insta demographic we have, where there's this landscape on social media which is like every single brother is over 6'4", everyone's earning over 100 bags, everyone owns a property, everyone is an entrepreneur, and this seems to be the versions of ourselves that we continue to present within social media, and we are misleading children, and we are creating so many problems for ourselves because we are creating these impossible benchmarks for young men and women to aspire to, as I said, because you want girls to be able to be like a size 6, but you're going to have an E cup or D cup breasts. You're supposed to have a big batty. You're not supposed to have no body hair. You have big lips, but you're also light skin and your hair's soft. And these ideas of this multi-racial ambiguous woman that does not exist. And this idea that you're a man that legally earns 10 bags a month, but has time to come home. You don't travel. You don't work late. You got time to come and service your wife romantically, sexually, and to stimulate her with conversation and be constantly present at the same time. And it's these Disney-fied, unrealistic kind of like holy trinity of rapper, trapper. It's just this idea that there's nonsense of this Instagram aesthetic relationship that we're all aspiring to, where it's like, we just catch flights, we don't catch feelings. I'm sorry, when we're just in love all the time and we will just go to Dubai, all we do is fucking go on holiday and eat at restaurants. That's not how anybody lives. But this seems to be the image that a lot of very irresponsible people are suggesting to young people. And I just don't think that, and that's the main thing, is that as well as it sounding insane, I'm not going to attack the woman on any superficial basis because we're not feeding into that energy, the same kind of energy either. But what we're just saying is that think about what you are telling young girls when you are stipulating your price before any other positive attribute about your being.
And with that, we will end today's podcast. People, to catch up on the socials, MYB _pod UK on everything. Catch Dane.
Catch me about. I've got lots of comedy clips online. I have a special available on YouTube. We've got a couple specials out there as well. But yeah, if not, just follow us on the socials to find out more about gigs and where we're going to be and hear some of this stuff that we got to hold back on the pod and just, make it look a bit of joke. But yeah, continue to support the podcast. Thank you very much.
See it there. Salute.
Yeah, man. Big up yourself, Index.
Yes.
Yes, brother.